Warning, the following podcast contains adult content, adult language, and adult situations. I talk openly about sex and explicit topics. If you are under the age of 18 or are uncomfortable listening to sexually explicit narratives, please listen no further. I am not a professional therapist, counselor, or doctor. I'm just an average guy in the swinger lifestyle who likes to share his experiences. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Please seek a professional if you are in need of advice, guidance, or care as it relates to sexual health or alternative lifestyles. Hi there, my swinger friends. Welcome to Evan Swings, a podcast about the swinger lifestyle from the perspective of a dude in the lifestyle. That, of course, is me, your host, Evan. I'm half of a lifestyle couple. The other half is my awesome wife, Eva. Happy to have you listening today, as always. If you are new here, welcome to the show. Very happy to have you aboard. If you are interested in hearing how Eva and I got into the lifestyle, I do suggest starting off with some of my earlier episodes, but it's not essential. No background info is needed to hopefully enjoy this episode. And to all my returning listeners, welcome back. Always glad to have you back here with me as we talk about the lifestyle and all its glory. Now, the title of this episode is Evan Redeems Himself, and I will get to that story shortly. But before we begin, I want to throw in a real quick anecdote here. Negative experiences are always the more fun ones to talk about here on the show. And I shouldn't say this one was negative. It's just interesting. So we had a couple contact us on SLS. And normally when a couple contacts us, it usually follows a pretty standard protocol. You know, they say hello, we say hello back, maybe, exchange a few pleasantries like, hi, how are you? And, introduce ourselves, maybe, state our location if it wasn't clear already in the profile. Then, oftentimes, if there's interest, we open our private folders so we can get a better idea of each other's physical appearance. This is actually something we immediately insist on, by the way. If the couple doesn't have any face pics, we always insist that they unlock their folders right away or send us some face pics. After that, if there's still interest, there's some more chatting, where we get to know each other and then decide whether or not we want to meet in person. If so, then we schedule a meet and greet. We do it. Pretty standard protocol with, of course, some minor exceptions here and there, different changes to that. Well, when this couple reached out to us, and this is just recently, by the way, a couple days before this, they were very aggressive. And Eva and I had never experienced such aggression. And perhaps aggression is the wrong word to use here. Maybe forwardness. They were very forward. They were from the Cleveland area, which is probably a good 4 hours away from where Eva and I live here. So right away, we knew we weren't really interested. But they hardly gave us any time to react. They saw our pictures, evidently knew right away they wanted to meet us, and immediately proceeded to try and set up a play date with us. Like, before we'd even chatted, like they reached out and said hello, we said hello back, and then their next message, they asked us to get together with them. But before we could even respond to that, They sent another message. They provided their actual cell phone number and said to call them or text them sometime and we get something set up. Now, I have to admit, if they were a drop-dead gorgeous couple, maybe, just maybe, we would have considered meeting them. They were not. And their overly aggressive or forward, whatever you want to call it, that nature turned us off anyway. So we responded that we were not interested. And then I did something stupid. Instead of just saying we weren't interested and leaving it at that, I added that we were only interested in local couples because Cleveland was too far of a drive for us. And that was the truth. You know, we don't want to start anything with people who live so far away. But I didn't mention that we were also not attracted to them physically. You know, I didn't even need to be that specific. I should have just said, I'm sorry, we're not interested, but I didn't. So that's on me. So because they assumed it was just about the distance, they said, oh, that's okay. We don't mind driving. We'll come to Dayton. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just too aggressive for us. Okay, they know nothing about us except what we look like and the information in our profile. And they were already giving us their personal phone number and willing to jump in the car and drive 4 hours to visit us. That was just a little too fast for us, a little too much for us. And again, not attracted to them at all. So there wasn't even any curiosity on our part. We knew we were not interested, and that was that. So again, I responded that we simply were not interested, which is what I should have done in the first place. But if we saw them at a club or event, we'd be happy to say hello. And that's true too. You know, we're happy to chat with anyone in a vanilla way. You know, we like to think we're nice people and can chat with anyone. Well, they were polite about it. They were really polite. And then they said something that kind of almost made me feel a little bit sorry for them. They said something like, that's okay, we understand. It's just been so hard to find good people in our area. And I felt kind of bad because I know, you know, it's been hard to find good people out here in Dayton as well. So we get it. But man, just too aggressive. Take a step back, slow things down. Throwing your phone number at us and saying you were ready to drop everything and drive 4 hours to meet us, that was just too much for us. So, all right, now for the fun story. If you are a returning listener, you may recall a story from episode 20 entitled Evan Screws Up, where I tried to help Eva fulfill a fantasy she had. I tried and failed. Please go back and listen to that entire episode if you have not already and you are interested in those details. I'll just kind of give you the Cliff Notes versions here. And all you younger listeners out there, I wonder if you even know what Cliff Notes are. Anyway, Eva had this fantasy where I set up a play date for her with a guy. I would get a hotel room. I'd arrange that for her and the guy, and then she would meet him there. But the kicker is that she wouldn't know who she was meeting until she arrived at the room and he opened the door for her. Well, I set it all up with a guy whom I thought she would enjoy being with. Well, because Eva is very smart and very observant, she figured out who it was about a week before the night of the play date. And it was a bit of a disaster. Yeah, she was not pleased with the guy I chose. I had to cancel, ended up losing about $150 on the hotel room. Eva was, I wouldn't say upset. She was a little, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. So I'll just go with upset. Eva was upset. Uncomfortable. There we go. That's a better one. Eva was very uncomfortable. And it was not fun. Not a fun situation. But I was determined to make this happen for Eva at some point. I wanted to redeem myself. I wanted to help her fulfill that fantasy that she's had. The problem was there are only a select few gentlemen whom Eva would be comfortable enough doing that. So if I was going to make this happen, I now had a list of 6 guys who she would enjoy that sort of thing with. Because after that whole fiasco the last time, we talked, a lot about it, and it was a good open discussion, and she told me the only guys at this point who she would be comfortable with. So it worked out to be a list of 6 guys. That giving me a list of 6 guys that, in my opinion, that took a lot of the mystery and the intrigue out of it. But it didn't matter. Okay, this is Eva's fantasy, not mine. And if she was happy with me setting this up with one of the guys off her approved list, then so be it. If that's what she wanted, then I just wanted to help make it happen. So I had my list. So I want to go through the 6 with you here. I'm going to talk a little bit about them so you can kind of see what I was working with here. So prospect number 1 is Mr. Magic Dick himself, Bruce. If you listen to my last episode called Evan Gets Jelly, this is the guy who, Eva showed up at his house wearing nothing but a trench coat with lingerie underneath. This is the guy who she met separately one other time. And of course, another time, the subject story of the last episode where she had kind of a threesome with Bruce and his wife. But this is also the guy who, in order to play, Eva has to abstain from sex with anyone else, except for me, for a month. Then she has to get tested for STIs, wait for results, then present those results prior to the play date. And this is all due to a medical situation that I'm not at liberty to share involving the wife. So that was a pretty tall order there. Okay, pulling that off would be a miracle. Prospect number 2. I'm going to call him Tommy Lee, after the actor Tommy Lee Jones. Now, he looks nothing like Tommy Lee Jones, but trust me, there is a reason for me calling him this that Eva understands. He and his wife, they were regular playmates of ours for a while. We really liked them, both a lot of fun. We went to Tempted with them in Louisville. We spent lots of time with them. We've done escape rooms with them. We've hung out. But there's always that distance thing that gets in the way sometimes. They live in Kentucky. Over time, things just fizzled out with them, and we don't see them as often. Still friends. We'll probably play with them again at some point, but it just kind of fizzled out a little bit. A few months ago, he actually had a play date with Eva at a hotel. Talking about Tommy Lee here. So Eva and he had already played separately at a hotel before. The problem now was that his wife was no longer comfortable with him playing separately. So Tommy Lee wasn't allowed. So that's prospect number 2. Prospect number 3. A guy, part of a couple that we play with fairly regularly. He was fine with the idea of playing separately with Eva. He liked the idea. But he was only allowed or interested in doing it Sorry, my phone went off there. And doing it while his wife was at work, which is during the day. And Eva works during the day as well. So unless this was going to be a during the day play date, this was not going to be easy to pull off. Virtually impossible. So that was prospect number 3. Prospect number 4. A guy, part of a couple whom we played with on several occasions. And we love them. We love this couple. They're so much fun. But first of all, they live about 2 hours away. Maybe more. I would say more than 2 hours away. And number 2, they are so, and I don't know what the word is here, flighty maybe? They're certainly not planners, okay? We have invited them to make plans with us many times, and they say, we'll let you know, and then they don't. They never get back to us. Or they get back to us a few days later and say, oh, sorry, we weren't able to do it. We just got real busy. Or more commonly, they'll text us at like 8 p.m. on a Saturday and tell us they're on their way to a club and want to know if we'd like to meet them there. And Eva and I, we're just not big fans of the spur of the moment lifestyle dates. We need time to prepare and groom ourselves. So with their distance away from us and their inability to plan long term, that would be a very tall order to pull off as well. Furthermore, I got the sense that the wife of that couple wasn't completely comfortable with him playing separately, because he did ask at one point about having a threesome with him, his wife, and Eva. So that was prospect 4. Another tall order to pull off. Prospect number 5, guy, part of a couple that we have played with a total of 3 times so far. And they're awesome. Okay, they're a lot of fun. Probably the most easygoing, agreeable, trustworthy couple that we know. They've always been willing to meet us wherever we suggest and do whatever we suggest. Like, we'll come up with ideas of things to do, like, let's do an escape room or let's have a game night. And they're like, yeah, sure. Like, they're never argue it. They're just very accepting and agreeable. Just great people. But because we haven't played with them many times or even discussed separate play, I didn't feel comfortable contacting them and asking him to do this. Now, I think I would now at the time of this recording, because we met them again and now I feel even more comfortable. But at the time that this was all happening, it was not. So that was prospect number 5. Now, prospect number 6, the last one, is kind of an outlier here. Normally, Eva would only want to do this with someone she has played with before. I mean, in fact, she told me flat out she would only do this if she had played with the person before. But she has one exception. This guy. He's a guy she knew from high school. She had a crush on him in high school and still thinks he's hot. She would love to fuck him. She's actually said those words. And he and I, we've talked about it numerous times. And I apologize, my phone keeps going off here. So we've talked about it numerous times. He and I have gotten to know each other over the years through my DJ partner, who was also friends with him in high school. So we chat occasionally. And I have to say, he and I have kind of an odd friendship. You know, we have seen each other only a handful of times in our entire lives. But we chat like we're best buddies sometimes. You know, he's one of the few people who I trust to know the secret of our lifestyle involvement. And he and his wife have kind of an interesting dynamic. He enjoys watching his wife be with other guys and hearing about his wife being with other guys. And he will join in on threesomes with another guy, but he does not have sex with women other than his wife. I believe he would if he could, but from what I gather, his wife is just not comfortable with that, at least not yet. And it's too bad because his wife is a hottie. Eva and I would actually love to full swap with them, but she has made it very clear that she's only interested in, I'll say strangers, people that she hasn't met before. So that's their situation. But Eva has made it very clear that if there ever came a time where he was willing and able, she would be all over him. Man, to fuck your high school crush, I don't blame her, because I think back to some of my high school crushes, and yeah, that would be incredible opportunity. Anyway, he is the sixth and final prospect on her list. So as you can tell from my descriptions, there were no slam dunks. Every one of those guys had something that would impede an easy date setup. Nothing would come easy. But then it did. I caught a huge break. I got a text from prospect number 2, Tommy Lee. He informed me that he and his wife had some discussions, and he was actually now allowed to play separately with Eva again. And this was awesome news. And it got better. I've told you listeners in the past that I was once a professional DJ. I did weddings and parties as like a little side hustle of mine. Well, a colleague of mine, her daughter was getting married, and they were having trouble finding a DJ that was reasonably priced and someone that they could trust. So I offered to come out of retirement and DJ the wedding reception. They happily accepted, and I was going to be away all evening doing that wedding reception one night this summer. So I told Tommy Lee about Eva's fantasy, how I would love for him to be the guy to help Eva fulfill it, and how I would be away all evening on that particular date, so poor Eva will be home all alone, unless we could find something and someone for her to do. Well, let me tell you, Tommy was ecstatic. He loved the idea. And he loved the idea of being the one to do this for Eva. And I knew that Eva would love the fact that it was him waiting for her in a hotel room. I mean, any of those 6 prospects would have worked, but I know for a fact that she would be overjoyed to see him. At this point, Eva was still under the impression that Tommy was not allowed to play separately. So as we got this plan kind of set into motion, she had no idea which of the 6 men would be meeting her at the hotel. All of them, as she was well aware, had situations that prevented me from setting something up easily. She had no idea things changed with Tommy Lee. Well, Tommy and I secretly got to work. We chatted with each other over Kik. I found out what his favorite color was, and Eva ordered some lingerie in that color. Tommy asked me what type of beverage that Eva enjoys the most, because he wanted to buy some and have them in the room waiting for her for their date. He also asked about what kind of music she liked. So Eva and I, we have a sexy bedroom Spotify playlist. So sidebar, listeners, if you would like the official Evan and Eva bedroom music playlist shared with you on Spotify, let me know. I can share that with you. Tommy and I, we discussed hotels and settled on one that was reasonably priced, not too far away, and had good reviews. Whenever I get a hotel room, that's one of the first things I look at. I look at the reviews. I want to see what people are saying about these hotels. So we found a good one. Tommy is all about respect and manners. I love the guy. So he even agreed to drive all the way up to Dayton from Kentucky to make this happen. So Eva wouldn't have to drive a long way in the dark. He's just such a gentleman. We set a time, and everything was set to go. I did make one mistake, though. Just one minor mistake. Usually, Eva and I have a rule. The other person has a time limit for separate play. 2 to 2.5 hours, right around there. 2 to 2.5 hours of playtime with another person. Then it's time to come home and play with your spouse. But since I was going to be DJing all evening, I told Eva, she could take her time and spend as much time as she wanted. Slight mistake. I will explain later. The night arrived, and this time, because this is, take 2 on this time I was super secretive, and I made sure that I did not drop any hints or anything like that, so Eva still had no idea who she would be meeting and having sex with that evening. It was very exciting. I may have been more excited than her, to be honest with you. It was just so much fun to plan, and this time I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that Eva would love who I chose for her to play with. I packed her a small bag. I put a couple of her favorite vibrators. I put 2 butt plugs, some lube, and just some other things that I thought she might enjoy or need, like hair ties. I also packed her an insulated bag with a couple of her favorite drinks, some water. I wanted to take care of everything, so all she had to do was get dressed, walk out the door, and head to the hotel. I left for my DJ event, and I told her to text me when she left, when she arrived at the hotel, and when she arrived at her when she arrived at the room and saw who it was, because I kind of wanted to hear her reaction, even though I knew she'd be happy, and then also when she departed from the hotel. I also requested that she take some photos and videos for me. I asked her to send me the photos and videos throughout the evening if she thought about it, if she was able. I didn't want her to be distracted or anything like that. I wanted her to have a good time, but if she thought about it, I would appreciate some pictures and videos. This way, I could enjoy knowing what was going on while I DJ'd. It went off without a hitch. Tommy, even he thought of this. I totally forgot about this element here, but thankfully he did. He hid his car at the hotel. Like, he parked it far away so Eva wouldn't accidentally see it and recognize it. He left a key for her at the front desk, so she had to go in, say her name at the front desk, and receive a key to a room where a gentleman was waiting to play with her. That was hot. Okay, she went to the room, and she didn't use the key. She knocked on the door. I guess it was one of those hotels where you needed a room key just to get to the section of the hotel where the rooms are. Okay, so she didn't just insert the key and walk in the room. She still knocked. So she knocked on the door, and I wish I could show you what I mean here, because Eva demonstrated and described it, and it was just perfectly executed. Tommy opened the door, but stood behind it as he did. So as the door swung open, Eva did not see the person who was opening it. Then, after just a second or two, he slyly peeked his head out from around the door. And from what Eva told me, she kind of exclaimed, "Yes," something like that, in excitement, and proceeded to immediately walk in and start kissing him without saying another word. Now that is just so hot for me to think about. After that first kind of brief makeout session, they talked for a little bit. Then they got down to business. And let me tell you, it was a lot of business. They fucked for over 4 hours. 4 hours. They broke a headboard. And they did some kinky things that I don't know if Eva wants me sharing, so I won't. And they sent me lots of pictures and videos throughout the evening. They were really awesome about that. It was very enjoyable to receive those while I was at this wedding reception. Now, my DJ partner, the guy who guided us when we first started our lifestyle adventure, he was with me, and we just sat there while music played, while we weren't talking or interacting with guests. We just looked at my phone and enjoyed these pictures and videos I was receiving. And I smile when I think about all these party guests, all right? If any of them looked over and saw us like staring at my phone, how none of them could possibly imagine what was really going on. No one could possibly be thinking, "Oh, that DJ is getting pics and videos of his wife fucking another guy at a hotel right now." And my DJ partner actually asked that. He's like, "Did you ever think you'd be getting pictures and videos from your wife while she was fucking some other guy at a hotel somewhere?" I was like, "Nope. 3 years ago, I would have never even imagined it." All right, well, I mentioned earlier that I made the slight mistake of not giving Eva a set time limit. Let me explain why. Tommy Lee is superhuman. He basically fucked my wife for over 4 hours. He came 5 times. A guy in his 40s, 5 times in about 4 hours. He's an absolute beast. I can only imagine how awesome it is to have that kind of stamina and endurance and recovery. Plus, I forgot to mention, I wanted to pay for the hotel room entirely. This was Eva's fantasy. I was setting it up. He was helping us out, driving such a long way. So I wanted to take care of it. I wanted to take care of the entire cost of the room. So in Eva's bag of goodies that I packed, I also put a card with cash inside for him. He had to book the room because, as you probably are well aware with hotels, the person booking the room is the person that needs to be checking in. So he had to book the room in his name. So I needed to reimburse him for that. But inside the card, I wrote him a little thank you note. And I told him to make sure he fucked the shit out of my wife tonight. And boy, did he ever. Now, if this was just a normal, regular dude, it would have been fine. But Tommy Lee is not normal. He was able to have way more actual sex in those 4.5 hours or whatever it was than what a typical normal guy would have been able to do. So Eva was very sore afterwards. And remember, one of our favorite parts about separate play, or even just swapping, is the reclaim sex. When she got home, yes, I even beat her home. I got home first. I didn't expect that, by the way, either. 4+ hours of sex. Wow. Anyway, when she got home and she was telling me all about it and showing me more pics and videos, I was ready to rock. I was all riled up and turned on. Reclaim sex time. Well, Eva obliged, but it was not as enjoyable to either of us. I could see her wincing, and she told me that she was very sore. So I had to be very gentle. And it was enjoyable, but not as enjoyable as it should have been. And then I was ready for round 2 soon after, and even the next morning, I was all still riled up on a high from what I knew that Eva did. But Eva couldn't go. She couldn't do it. She was too sore. So she and I both agreed that it wasn't as fun. So we would always have a time limit in the future to avoid a similar situation. But that was, it was still just very minor. Okay, still an amazing experience for both of us, actually. Obviously Eva had an amazing time, but I loved it too. I felt so proud of myself for setting this all up and succeeding in keeping it secret, like keeping his identity secret, and helping her fulfill her fantasy, and also for redeeming myself after the fiasco that occurred last time I tried to do this for her. And it was just so fun to know, like to just think about what was going on at a hotel in Dayton while I was off DJing a wedding somewhere. And it's so hot to hear about all the details of the evening. All in all, definitely one of our favorite lifestyle adventures to date. There's, if I had to create a top 5, this would be in the top 5. Tommy Lee has already expressed interest in doing something like that again. He texted and thanked me repeatedly for choosing him to be part of this experience. He just absolutely loved it. Just absolutely loved it. So just a great experience all around. And one more thing. Eva took a selfie of herself in the hotel parking lot when she arrived and sent it to me. It was very exciting to receive that and know what she was about to do. And, I knew who she was about to see and she didn't. Then she took another one in the parking lot right before she drove home. That was hot too. With all her hair kind of disheveled and her makeup smeared a little bit. That was extremely hot because I know why she looked that way. Some guy just rocked her world. Fun stuff, right? So with that, that's the end of my story. So I guess we will conclude this episode of Evan Swings. I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I enjoyed telling it and thinking about it again. I mean, Eva and I, here we are months later, and we still talk about it, and we still look at the pics and the videos from the evening. It's just so much fun. Anyway, as always, you can connect with me on Instagram or Kik. Just search for Evan Dienson or send me an email, evandienson@gmail.com. Happy to answer questions or hear comments or suggestions. That name is Evan Dienson, EvanDeanson. And your questions can even be addressed to Eva. She's happy to answer those questions too. Until next time, be safe, be naughty, and take care, everyone. I hope you'll join us again for the next episode of Evan Swings. Bye for now.